Good morning. I have a little friend with me. This is Vladimir Tittles. He's not really, there we go, photogenic. Um, but he is my Russian tortoise, and I actually have two. Vladimir came to me in a very, very special way. And then Willow, who's my other Russian tortoise, came to me. He's a domestic tortoise. This little guy here is wild caught. So we had two cats for many years. Merlin was 17 and 3/4 when he died, and he was probably 5 when I moved into the home. And Morgana was 18 and 3/4 when she died. They were litter mates. Brother and sister came from the same mom, and they were just wonderful animals to have. But my husband was allergic to them, and they were his when I moved in, so I wasn't the one to blame. And I became allergic when I got a little older in life, and that runs in my family. So we were looking for pets. Now, while we had the cats, we actually had a firebelly newt who was wonderful to have. Her name was Olivia, and we loved her, but she was very sick. She had problems with her liver. So we met an amazing reptile vet in our area, and he was so wonderful to take care of her for us and then be there for her final moments when it was time for her to go. So I started to do some research on pets that were not furry, so pets that had longevity, because frankly, 15 years with a cat was not long enough. You know, you just give your heart and soul to these little animals, and then for them to go so fast. So I decided to do some research, and I did a lot of research. I did, we decided, we landed on turtles, and because we had tried African dwarf frogs, which was a huge failure. Now, come to find out, there were a lot of different factors playing into the fact that we were failing at African dwarf frogs. And since then, we now have Clyde, who's in our upstairs tank, and he's been, knock on wood, doing well so far. And we have 6 African dwarf frogs in my office, because without cats, it's very lonely in an office. So I will give you a tour of those eventually. But anyway, Vlad here, hello. He came to me because I did a ton of research. We looked at waterborne turtles and found that they can tend to carry certain things, illnesses and diseases. And I had very young children at the time, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough something that they could be hands-on with and that they wouldn't get hurt or bothered by. So I landed on tortoises. And so I did a lot of research on tortoises, joined groups on Facebook, did lots of reading on the web. Come to find out, a lot of it was bad and wrong. I've learned a lot over the years, and decided that I would land on a Russian tortoise. Now, Russian tortoises don't get any bigger. They're pretty much, they're going to be no more than 7 inches on their carapace, which is the top of their bottom shell to the bottom of their bottom shell. Sorry. Their lights just came on, so he's still a little cool. And that they would be, they are more arid of an animal. They live in a more arid climate, so you don't have to worry about very wet, but you have to have it moist. So it fit a lot of the parameters we were able to provide for an animal. So I called up the veterinarian, and I found in his office they had a person who specialized in tortoises and turtles, Solonian studies. So I contacted her and talked to her, and she said Russians were great for a young family. They're great to have. They do have a longevity. They live up to 75 years. So this little guy here, being between the ages of 9 and 13, we will definitely put him and Willow in our will to make sure that they've got longevity in their life to look forward to. But anyways, and then she's like, listen, I am the doctor that takes care of a reptile rescue a little farther north, and actually north of Flint, and if you want, there's a tortoise there ready for adoption. So I contacted the company, the location, the rescue, and I filled out all of the information. and answered all their questions. They wanted to know how much I knew about caring for tortoises. And I've gone back and found that application and reread it. And there were some things that I wrote that were wrong, and I've since fixed those. But the best thing I could do is to have a tortoise, to have my information in, have a good home for the tortoise before the tortoise even got here. So we were ahead of the game. So the day that the tortoise was supposed to come, which was August 26th of the year that he came, I got a phone call early in the morning, and it was from the rescue, and they said, listen, Vlad is going to come down to, we named him, and they knew, so Vlad is going to come down to the vet, but he's not going to come back to you today. You're not going to pick him up. What had happened is they had given him a nice long soak the night before so he could travel all the way down south, and his penis came out. He got aroused and his penis came out, and it was not going in, which is a very painful thing for reptiles. So I talked to the vet when he got down there, and she's like, well, I'm going to watch him, I'm going to sedate him, make sure he's not in any pain, and then she'd put little stitches in to maybe see if it will go in and stay in. Sure enough, it did not. So she did the full surgery for him, removing his penis. He still has his testicles inside. He's intact in that manner. So he goes into a rut in the spring like all tortoises. And he had a little bit of time to get better, and he came to me. I chose not to bring him home after surgery because he was going to require injections, and I didn't want that relationship to begin with me poking him. So the vet was very understanding, and she did give me the option, so she kept him on and took care of him. So I picked him up September 9th, so we had quite a while of dealing with his issue, and he came to me, and he's been a pretty good tortoise ever since. We do take him in for checkups. He does lose a typical amount of weight in the winter, and the veterinarian knows that. I know that. But we do watch it, make sure he's eating and getting his vitamins and minerals and things that he needs. And in the summer, he likes to be outside. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go out, and we're going to measure the heat. It is about ambient temperature, about 60 degrees right now outside, which is really too cold for tortoises. They shouldn't go below 55 at night, but during the daytime, they need to digest their food, and they need that heat. You notice turtles will sit out in the sun. All turtles and tortoises need to be warmed to digest their food. That's why they hibernate in the winter, because they don't have that heat to digest their food, and it would just rot in their gut. So I'm going to go make sure it's warm enough out there. Plus, when they bring them in the evening, I put their lights back on and their heater back on, and they have that on until approximately, this time of year, approximately 11 o'clock at night. So they'll have quite a few hours to go under there and bask if they need to bask some more. But the sunlight is really important, the natural sunlight for that UVA, UVB. I do have a UVA light bulb in their enclosure. I put it in October of last year. Usually the light bulbs only last 6 months for their strength and durability. But because they go out in the summer, at least 20 minutes to, I use sometimes 8 hours a day. I never put them out for just 20 minutes. They get a chance to, he's being cute. They get a chance to be outside and get fresh air and fresh sun, and that's great for them. Now, they cannot get UVA, UVB through their shell, by the way. So you'll notice, if you ever see a turtle or tortoise basking, their neck is all the way out, their arms and legs are all the way out, because the skin actually absorbs that. So I am going to stop now and go out and measure. We're going to take the view of Vlad's back. Now, Vlad's enclosure is in the sun. I had to split the two enclosures because we had, we got Will as a baby. So eventually, I'm going to open up another enclosure. But right now, Vlad's enclosure, even though the ambient temperature, I'm going to set you down here, even though the ambient temperature is in the 60s, it is definitely in the 70s in here. So he is now inside his enclosure. Let me see if I can focus on him. No one let me. But he is in there, and he is going to have a good time. I changed his water yesterday, but I will not change his water. Actually, it rained this morning. I won't change his water until it gets a little warmer in there. But there he is, and he's going to have a little fun running.